is to really let people know, as a vet, what are the obstacles they run into and what are the kinds of problems. Even though I think the VA has gotten a lot better. Let me sit over here. All right, hold on 1 second. Here?
Yeah, so you can see the camera.
Okay. I'm just changing microphones, sorry about that. But as I said, the objective really is to let people know, the general public know, that the vets that are here, and there's a whole lot of homeless veterans. And the reason they're homeless is that they really have either the VA is very slow in processing, or they get processed, but for whatever reason they get lost in the system. Sometimes they get approved, but still they can't get through. And then there are a number of them who I call in-betweeners, as far as the vets that are going through it's kind of like divorce status. They're going through divorce. And for whatever reason, I don't fully understand why the judges have been extremely hard on the vets. But the vets are working, some of these vets are working part-time, and they do get some aid from the VA. But by the time they pay alimony and child support and everything else, there's no money left. And so I witnessed a lot of this in Laughlin, and that they are literally living in tents or cardboard boxes, or some are really literally on the streets. They do make money. They don't qualify for housing as a result of making too much money, but they have to make this kind of money in order to pay their bills. And that also has to do with credit cards or whatever. The other vets that are homeless, as I said, a lot of the problems are just getting processed, and some are very frustrated, especially the vets that are from Vietnam. And for whatever reason, there is a real problem getting them processed, getting them the aid that they need, and in some cases even the medical that they need. And so I've talked to quite a few of them. There's a lot from Desert Storm, a lot from Afghanistan, and you'd be surprised, I was surprised, by how many homeless vets there are. We have currently pretty close to 40,000 homeless in a year's time, and about 30 to 40% of them are vets that are homeless. And then the other, and I'll give you some statistics just to kind of let you know, 75% of the homeless are white. And then you've got 20% who are African American, and you've got 5% who are Hispanic. And what has been amazing to me is that less than 1% are Asians. And so, there's just a whole different attitude how the Asians treat each other as compared to our society and how we deal with the homeless. But as far as the vets are concerned, many of them really go through a very, very hard time, and it's the processing time. Even though Congress has passed a bill that is trying to make the payments faster for the vets, or the aid to the vets, but they don't have enough staff. It's overrun by the number of vets that are coming, from the wars that we have. And so, it is easy for us to send people over, in any war, but it's very difficult for us when they get back here to really take care of them. And as far as if they get into medical, and if they really get the attention that they need, the VA in itself has had an extremely high rating as far as the care for those who are injured or those who are going through therapy, whatever. But the biggest problem is getting into the system. And that's the problem that as a chaplain, and I'm really a chaplain and not a pastor, a pastor is one step above me. And my job basically is to work with those who are in need, those who are, I try to comfort them, and I as a chaplain, I've seen things that I didn't realize how big the problem was. Not only is it the 40,000 per year, but we're about second in the United States for neglect and abuse of children. And then the other part of it is the, you know, as I said, the vets, the homeless. They're just, it's a much larger problem. The other thing I'm just going to state, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, is I'm now going to be on the committee with the mayor, the interfaith initiative that she has, and there's a committee that works with the homeless, and we try to come up with solutions. I have come up with a solution, and I'm going to talk about it very briefly, but it will cut the cost down as far as the vets. The biggest problem the vets face, not the vets, but the homeless and just the whole general, is that their IDs are stolen. And for a homeless to get another ID is a very, very difficult thing because they have no phone number, they have no address, and they really can't prove who they are. So I don't know how many times the homeless have come up to me and asked me, where can I get an ID? And they don't have anything to identify who they really are, so it becomes very difficult. But anyway, as far as being a part of the mayor and working, you know, at the initiative, the faith initiative, we're really starting to work on solutions. And I said there's one solution that I am starting to work on. It's a ways off, but as I said, it does deal with a solution with the stolen IDs. And so I will talk about that. But we have a guest, and the guest is his name is Robert. And he's from the Air Force, and I met him on Fremont, and he and I have gotten to know each other fairly well. But Bob really kind of knows what really the vets go through and what the obstacles are, and maybe most importantly is what his personal obstacles are and what he runs into. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bob a little bit, but we will ask some questions with Bob, you know, just, you know, what some of the situations that go on, but I just want to turn it over to Bob, and it's really your story as far as whatever, but maybe just tell everybody a little bit about your background that you were, and then, you know, then talk about, as I said before, the obstacles, some of the things that you've been running into and not getting the kind of help that you really kind of need.
Okay, well, number one, I'm not a colonel.
Okay.
I did have
it's a nickname.
Temporary grade of captain, but I was an enlisted man. And I was in the Air Force Band stationed in Tokyo. And we did USO shows. We traveled to Vietnam and do, you know, small shows. We had a 5-piece group. And that's pretty much the experience I had in the Air Force. I was discharged after 6 years and became a professional musician. And now I'm retired and homeless, and I have had all kinds of trouble getting home or getting approved for a home. Every avenue that I've pursued, I haven't had any results whatsoever, even though I've had several attempts to find, you know, a home.
You're filling a lot of applications out, and you've not heard back.
I haven't heard back from any of them. And it's been almost 2 years.
How many applications have you filled out?
I would say maybe 10 to 15.
Huh.
Different organizations, different homes, and put on a waiting list. And then they said that they would contact me within 6 months to a year. They never have. No contact whatsoever. I've got 4 months left where I'm right now staying, which I am considered homeless. I'm living at the Catholic Charity, which is a very nice organization. They treat me well, but it's only a 2-year program. I have to leave by the end of December. And that's final. There's no appeal. That's the contract I signed. And everybody that goes there is allowed to stay 2 years. After that, they literally kick them out. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They have tried to give them every opportunity they could. In my case, I don't make enough retirement to be able to rent an apartment. I did apply for SSIS, whatever that is, and I did not qualify because I make too much, which is not true. I don't.
The SSI, they said you made too much money?
Their program is, to me, a farce, forgive me, but if you make over $790 a month, which I make over $790 a month, you do not qualify. If you make $600 a month, they'll give you $190, and nobody can live on that. Even though I certainly wouldn't turn it down, but it doesn't help. They just literally told me there's no sense in even applying now, you don't qualify. So I have to go different avenues. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I do not receive any disability from the military. They've turned me down on everything I've applied for. So.
Have they given you reasons why they've turned you down, or are there?
Yes, and it's all a bunch of.
Hogwash, a lot.
Yeah. I got turned down for a pension because I couldn't give them the date that my ex-wife remarried, for instance. And I finally did find out when she got remarried, but then I have to reapply now, and that takes quite some time. And I got turned down for everything else, and I can appeal it, but I don't think it's going to do any good. I did contact an attorney, and hopefully they'll be able to help me.
Oh, the attorney in lieu to the VA or to the SSI?
Veterans Administration.
The
That's
VA.
all they do. I haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm sure I will, because that's all they do, is veterans.
And what you're hoping is that the VA will give you some sort of aid in order to afford
To live.
to live, to some housing, and then plus food. Now you know what I found you. I found you at Fremont, on the street there, and you play. What's the instrument that you play?
Piano and accordion.
An accordion, yeah. You play the accordion. And a lot of the vets that I have witnessed, which you're included in this, that a lot of them may get some aid from the VA, but it's not enough. They have to, some actually beg, some others do some sort of entertainment, others do, they make certain kinds of crafts in order to pay for their food so they can eat. And to my thinking, to be honest with you, is that I just do not see, as a chaplain and as a citizen, that the vets like you and others who served honorably, they're having this much difficult time. As I said, it's very easy for us to send guys over, but it seems to be very difficult to take care of them once they come back. And you're one of them that really has a very difficult time. And part of the other thing that I've noticed, that even with the homeless, is that the one thing that I keep hearing all the time is they feel trapped. They can't get out. And there are a lot of them, and I think there's a big misconception out there for the ones that I have met. And I would say almost, maybe 70% of them are really motivated. And that they want to change, but they can't seem to get, either their IDs are stolen, or that they can't get enough money together in order to really afford an apartment, or and then they have to afford the food, they have to afford the utilities, and they just don't have that kind of money. But I know that some of the people there that are at the Fremont, is it the Fremont Street, what do they call it, Fremont
Experience.
The Fremont Experience. I know those guys really, they work very hard. I mean, I've seen them really, in order to make $1 or make, whatever it takes, and they work every day, and every day that they work, it adds up so they can pay rent. Then once they got money to pay rent, then they've got to get money for food. And that's where a lot of the vets are doing that same thing too, is that they are getting some, you know, some aid of some kind, but it's not enough.
I get $16 a month in food stamps. And that doesn't help much.
$16, you can't even, you just can't even.
That doesn't even buy 10 pounds of hamburger.
And that is through, when you get the food stamps, that's through the federal government that you're getting the food stamps through?
Yeah, it's the regular food stamp program. But that's the only benefit I get.
Why do you think it's been so difficult for the vets to get the help that they need? What is it? Is it because there's not enough people to do it? There's not enough funds to take care of you guys?
It's because, I hate to say it that way, but the VA, the people they hire don't care. And if they're underfunded, I know they spent over $400,000 for me to have open heart surgery. If they could afford that, they could afford to hire other people, so I wouldn't have had to go through that surgery. And people like me. As far as the hospitals and their staff, they are great.
You know, my understanding of the VA as far as the hospitalization and the care is really...
It is.
It's bar none, it's really very, very good.
If you go to the brand new hospital we have here, you should, because it's unbelievably modern. I was told that they even have robots roaming the halls at night, taking care of menial tasks. And again, the only problem I have with the VA is getting my meds on time. I take 12 pills a day. Like right now, I'm out of 2 pills that I desperately need. I ordered them quite a while ago. I haven't heard a word. And, you know, things like that. I don't know whose fault it is. I just know it happens, and it happens a lot. Appointments, they're getting better, but for a long time, every time I'd get an appointment, it was canceled.
You mean the medical?
Not by the doctors. It was a form letter saying, circumstances beyond our control, we cannot honor your visit to a doctor. That happened too many times. And I was almost like, if we keep doing it, they'll give up. And a lot of them did. I didn't.
Yeah, you know, and that's the one thing I kept hearing too, that because the process is so tedious, or the process takes us so long, that just a lot of the vets just really kind of give up. Yeah. And they can't, they're just, and they're living literally on the street. They're living.
If it was a problem of not enough staff, that can be solved really, really fast. All you have to do is hire new staff. You don't have to be trained real well to answer the phone. You don't have to have a college degree to fill out a form. And that's all they would have to do.
Now, the people that they hire, their attitude is just, it's not, do they act just very distant from you? They were just you're a statistic and that's it?
For the most part, they're very good. Very cordial, friendly. There are some bad lemons that I've even called their supervisors and complained, because they're very rude. They won't listen to you. You tell them your problem, they hang up on you. And we don't need that. Veterans call because they need help. And I've called before, you know, let me explain. I have a cell phone, but it's on a time
You have, there are free, it's through the Obama initiative that they have these free cell phones. And they have 200 or 500 minutes on it, each one of them, is that right?
But the thing is, sometimes, and more often than not, you make a phone call to me, and you have to wait a half hour.
So you used all the minutes up.
Yeah. And it's not something that happens once in a while, it happens constantly.
Now, is the VA very far from where you guys are? I mean, is it like downtown, where can you go to the VA itself?
We're lucky, there's 4 clinics. The northeast, the southeast, the northwest, and then the main hospital. So you're within 20 minutes of almost, I can go to any clinic which happens to be closest to, and they take care of me. I do go to the northeast clinic because that's where my primary doctor is. But if any other case, I could go anywhere to the clinics. They're all brand new, they're very well staffed as far as I know. Everybody's very, very kind, very nice. I have no complaints whatsoever.
Now, are you familiar with other vets that are having similar problems? Are you guys, because I see sometimes, I see one vet talking to another vet, or a group of you guys talking and kind of sharing some of the experiences that go on. Does that seem to happen quite a bit?
Not so much anymore. I used to. When I was younger, living in a small town and stuff, there was a lot of vets. I would like to say there were a town of less than 2,000 people. There were 4 Vietnamese vets that committed suicide. Very unhealthy attitude, and one of the main reasons I didn't do it, or I don't do it as much, is it's too depressing. And a lot of them are on drugs totally. Fortunately, I'm not. I never have been. And there's not a lot.
Or they turn to alcohol. I've seen that case.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with either of them.
Well, the only thing that after talking to some of the ones I've seen on alcohol and drugs, the war just mentally.
Yeah.
I mean, they were telling me stories that were so
Devastating.
horrifying that I couldn't even begin to. And they just drove them to drinking, it drove them to drugs. They can't forget.
I was fortunate that I didn't see any combat. We got shot at a few times, but I didn't ever have to pick up a gun and shoot at anybody, thank God, because I don't know what I would have done. And I used to play at the hospital in Tokyo. I volunteer with the Red Cross and stroll around with my accordion and play for the GIs. And the horror stories I saw, you couldn't believe. And the thing that really surprised me was they all wanted to go back and fight again with their buddies.
Well, there was a bond. I understand there's an incredible bond between them and that happened a lot in Afghanistan. It happened a lot in Iraq. These guys would go, 4 or 5 times, and I understand that. I
have nothing but admiration for those GIs. Just like I say, I was very fortunate. I didn't have to fight or kill anybody.
There was a case where I was with a vet, and there was a kind of a loud explosion, and he hit the dirt. This is in the United States. It was just like an automatic reaction that he just hit that.
Being a professional musician, I learned not to ever play a military song in a bar. I got attacked by a Marine once because I played the Marines hymn. He just went berserk. I don't blame him, but I could have really been hurt.
Yeah, no, there's
I made a policy, don't ever play a military song. There's too many guys out there that it's an explosion to them, like you said. So the emotions that they have felt during the war were so intense. They can't forget it. They can't seem to. No.
Yeah. As I said, I think the mindset for a lot of, we've been in a lot of wars recently, but the trouble has been is that we've had, we had the Gulf War, we had the Afghanistan, we had the Iraq War, and all these guys are coming back. And the other ones that I have met are the vets that have no limbs. And their legs are gone, arms are gone, hands are gone, faces, part of their faces are gone. And as I said, it's easy for us to send them over there, but when they come back, it's a very different ballgame.
Again, I'm fortunate. I can't walk, but I have my limbs and I can get around and do what I need to do, but I literally can't walk anymore.
Let me ask you, as a vet, and I know that there are other vets, and there's another vet that you're aware of, is Tom. He couldn't make it today because of his time frame, but he had a previous schedule. But he'll be on another time. We'll have Tom. But is there any recommendations that you have for the VA? Is there something that you think? It seems like the processing, and then you're getting a ton of you don't know whether you're being scammed or they're pretending to be helpful, but they never get back to you. And thank God they're not asking you for money. They may be asking the government, saying, this is what we're talking to, so they may be fixing the books up a little bit there.
Hopefully they're not scams. Hopefully they're
Pretty
good
straightforward.
people trying to do a job, but maybe they run into obstacles too that I don't know much about. But I haven't really had any satisfaction from them either. They do visit me and tell me they're working on it, but I haven't seen any results at all. Hopefully within the next 4 months I will.
It just astounds me. I just have to admit, I just did not, when I first started out as a chaplain and I started getting out there, no clue. I had no clue how bad the problem really is out there.
It is.
And I was down in Laughlin, and I was at the Legionnaire. They have a Legionnaire building there, and I talked to a number of vets who I call the in-betweeners. They were the ones who were going through divorce or had been divorced. But there are other vets that, they were literally living in tents, cardboard boxes, or on the street. And these guys were honorably discharged. And I cannot see, how this can be.
I can't either.
It's just to me, it's one thing to go over there and fight, to do whatever the war is. It's another for us to really, when they come home, to take care of them. And from my viewpoint and from your viewpoint, a lot of them are just not being, not in a, either they're not being taken care of. I talked to one Vietnam vet, just got so frustrated, he doesn't even want to talk to you about it. And he said they're just not responding to any of his and it's just really kind of bad. But the thing is a solution, and I think I know that the federal government lately has given some money, in order for the vets who do qualify to get aid, financial aid. I know they added, I think, pretty close to 1,000 nurses, 800 doctors. And what people don't know is that 65 to 75% of the doctors who are trained to be doctors go through the VA. They're trained through the VA in order to become a doctor or a nurse. And so the care is really, as I said, it's once you get in, the care is really quite remarkable.
Yes.
And what do you think of the other organizations like Warriors and there are other private funding? Have they anything to do with that at all? Any kind of assistance in that end, or have not tried that, or?
I don't know. I've always heard that almost every charity is somehow crooked, and I've had some experience. If you don't mind, I used to work for Opportunity Village, which is one of the biggest scams in the. I do from the prison on down, and I couldn't believe some of the things they did. Tried to talk to them about it, I got fired. All this homeless vets and the warriors, and it bothers me. Because there's other ways to take care of it. I think it's the government's responsibility, the Veterans Administration, not some private organization that it's gonna, usually 2/3 of the money goes in people's pockets. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
That's what you're kind of saying what's going on.
That's my opinion, and only my opinion. You know what I mean? I do read about it a lot, but I don't trust it, and I've learned not to. And I'm, by nature, a very trusting person.
Yeah, I think the thing that we have to do as far as the vets are concerned really is to somehow getting the overload, from what I understand, is just pretty immense. And that a lot of the vets that come back from even Afghanistan, they're waiting 6 to 8 months, 9 months to even to be seen, even with an injury, and or that that they get some immediate care if the injury is really life-threatening. But other than that, it's a real process to go through. So I think the government really, as I said, I don't think it fully grasped, if they rode with me one day, I think they'd get an understanding of what the real problems are out there.
I don't know if you've read it or not, but I did. Part of the problem is they didn't expect all these GIs to survive.
Yeah, the medicine, that was one of the articles I did read.
And now
that's
suddenly
really true.
they have survived, and which is...
Medical technology has really done some remarkable things, and you've got more people surviving.
So if that's what happens, then they have to spend more money and help them.
Yeah.
And this is a very rich country.
Yeah.
That's Trump.
Clark, is there anything you want to ask at all, or is there anything that you want to kind of find out?
No,
These are our viewpoints. These are our viewpoints, and I want to express that to the public, that these are personal experiences. These are personal opinions. I think that everybody out there has their own opinions of what's going on out there. But until you really get into, on a daily basis, as I have, when you deal with the homeless and you deal with the vets, and there are many more homeless out there that you may think they're not motivated, but they are. They want to get out, and so but they can't. They just feel trapped. I met one guy, believe it or not, was an attorney at a 7-Eleven, and as soon as he saw that I was a chaplain, he just started to let go of his emotions. He just started to cry for about 5-10 minutes. And what I do is that no one seems to be doing it, is providing information of all the services that are available to the homeless, to the vets. It's on a one sheet of paper on both sides. And it was surprising to me that a lot of the people, the homeless, didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue of, hope for San Diego, or hope for Southern Nevada, Catholic Charities, or there was, I think it's called Help for Southern Nevada. There are a number of other organizations that are out there, but they didn't have they didn't have a directory of the information. So what I hand out is that directory. It's just a one sheet. And many of them, and the responses getting back now, I'm getting some responses back from keeping tabs of, and it seems like there's about maybe 25 to 30% response, and that the people are starting to investigate, and a lot of them that I run into really want to get out. And it was Julie, that one that I'm talking about, the one that wears the Mickey Mouse outfit. And they're working on right now getting money for rent, and then after that they're working for money to get food. And she seems to be really very much motivated she said, you know, help me find a job. And then I saw another homeless person. I got to tell you, I've never seen a woman, I mean, just for the lack of words, she just busted her butt. She just really, she was collecting cans. It was 110 degrees outside. And she's out there hustling. I mean, hustling. You know, and if I was an employer, I'd hire her in a minute. Less than that, in a second. And so there are people that are really motivated. And the attorney, the sheet of information they gave to him, I told him after, you know, things kind of calmed down, I said, here's the way out. Here's the information that you're going to need, but you're going to need some persistence. You're going to need to be motivated to get out. And so one is really information, and so that's what's kind of going on. But I want to take a few minutes, if you don't mind, Bob, just about an idea that we are starting to work on. That's my idea. The one thing that's happening out there with the homeless, which is a far bigger problem than I really thought, are the IDs that are stolen. And I get, every time I go out, I get people asking me for, you know, how do I get an ID? And they have nothing to prove it. They have no phone number, they have no family, they have nothing. There's no way to prove who they are. So what the idea that we came up with, which is a lot less expensive, instead of doing a brick and mortar, you know, building, is to really actually gut cars. Old cars, gut them out. Take the seats, take everything out, put a bed in there, but you have a battery. And that'll be underneath the car, and what that battery does is that when that homeless person is in that car, those doors are locked. Nobody, and we're going to make some changes to the windows, but nobody, once they're in there and the doors are locked, nobody's going to be able to get in. So they can't get their IDs. They caught somebody fairly recently with over 500 IDs. The police did. Did you want to say something, Clark?
No, I'm just listening. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
That there were 3 guys who were stealing IDs. It was just a whole, but basically, as I said, the idea is that we're going to try to get a plot of land. We're going to start out small, work out the bugs, and the gutting of the car is going to create some problems. We're going to try to have the motor out, but if we have a motor in the car, we'll take the engine out and we'll sell the parts, whatever we can get, to kind of help pay for the park that we're going to be building. And the homeless can do that. But the other part is, it's going to be called a village, but the other part is twofold. One of which is forming partnerships with companies that would hire the homeless. And the homeless are going to get, they're going to have an actual graduated ceremony. We're going to provide, not like tents, but we're going to have, I forgot the name of it, they're going to be made out of plastic or metal, but they're going to be actual classes, one for you know, being for motivation, for cars, fixing cars. One's going to be for electrician. One's going to be for computers. And if they want to get into this park, they're going to make the agreement, they're going to go through the training program. The bigger part of this, there's a program called Hope for Prisoners. Been a very successful getting them indoctrinated into society again after being in prison for a number of years. But they have a ceremony. They have senators, they have congressmen, they have dignitaries from the mayor through all parts of the government of Las Vegas and even through the federal government. And I think what the homeless really need is that we're dealing with the homeless in an aimless, not a direct path. We're not taking them on a direct path. We're not trying to solve the problem that needs to be solved, and one of which is really getting them back into working. And I would say maybe 30%, they're lost. I mean, they're not motivated, they don't care, they take advantage of the system, so on and so forth. You got those. And then you got some real bad cats. And I was robbed once, just recently. A chaplain being robbed. And the guy was just, I mean, it was right in front of a bus center. The police came. I mean, it was a big ordeal.
Somebody stole my accordion.
Yeah. Your accordion was just stolen?
No, I got another one. The other was stolen.
Because that's how you make your money. But as I said, the park is that solving the problem is really forming the partnerships. One is the recognition I think they need, that they'll either get a card, get a badge of some kind, and then we will have partnerships with companies that will hire them. Whatever the jobs that are available, they may not be large amounts of money as far as salary, but at least they're starting on the road of getting back in. And as I said, probably 30% you have to give up. Probably another 20% you have to kind of give up also. But there's about 30-40% that are motivated, that they want out, they want to change, they want to do something. And I get that all the time when I go down to Fremont. People are asking, do you know of any jobs?
Do you ever go to the Catholic Charities?
Oh yeah.
Okay, talk to those people?
Yeah.
Okay, just wondered. Because
yeah, they're in the back there, and they're...
A lot of them need it.
Yeah.
They need help.
Yeah, I've seen that too in Catholic Charities. But the park that we're going to try to do is to move the homeless into a separate section that'll be really actually a village. And there'll be entertainment. We're going to do stuff to entertain them, whatever. All this is going to cost money. But where the savings is come in is getting out the cars, and we can literally, once we start small, work out the bugs, see what the time it takes, and then, putting the beds in, seeing how safe they are once they get in there. But they have to agree that there's going to be training facilities there, that they're going to be trained to do, as I said, electrician, whether it's, a mechanic of cars or fixing things, whatever it may be. But they're going to take a bunch of courses there, and we're starting to line up teachers already for that. So as the homeless, this will be far less costly, and so that's the program that's starting to be worked on now. It's just in the very beginning stages. We need to get a plot of land. I think the city has some places that they know of, and then I think we're just going to go ahead and, as you said, start small, and then, gradually build. And we have somebody that may supply us cars. Gutted out cars, or we'll gut them out. But as far as the vets, what is the solution to the vets? And the solution is really, for a lot of people that are listening, is that you can't just sit back and listen to this. You've got to contact your senator. You've got to contact your congressman. You got to really take the initiative to say we've got to do something about the vets. There's just too much going on. They're not being treated fairly. And I think if there's enough political pressure, really enough pressure, that I think some things will really get done. And I know a lot of people want to cut budgets. They want to do less spending. But when you send our men to war, there's just and there are budget cuts in the actual for the VA. There have been budget cuts. And then they kind of reversed by adding some more money to it all. But we got to do far more. We've got to process you guys much faster. And I think we may have to change some of the rulings or some of the requirements in order to accommodate more of the vets. And one of our main priorities really is taking care of you guys. And those who, there are many of the vets I talked to that have served honorably, and they're just amazed at the problems they're having.
Yeah.
They just thought they would be taken care of, and they're not.
I wish there was a way you could organize the vets, and I don't mean the, American League and all that. I'm talking about the vets themselves. Form an organization that will have a lot of political power.
Well,
Why
there
don't
are
you-
organizations like Vets of Foreign Wars, there are Vietnam vets
I know
that are kind of behind the scenes that are working on that, but it's still not enough. And so, you know, you can only do so much in private funding, and a lot of people do give. I mean, I've seen them at grocery stores, I've seen them
Oh,
at Smith,
yeah.
I've seen them at Vaughn's.
On a smaller scale, they really do work.
They do,
a lot of
and
good.
they too, the intention of them is to get you back to work somehow in some way so that you can start earning some money. And, but that's what we just have to really get that more organized. I agree with you. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? I don't know. We're pretty close to the end of the
I
time.
appreciate what you're doing, Chaplain. I really admire you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll tell you a little short story. There was a while there I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm already retired. You know, I've done my thing. And just by chance, my wife and I worked into a bird sanctuary, and the woman that worked there, her husband is a chaplain. And he is very well known in Boulder City, Chaplain Bob. He works at the Veterans Home. Very well known. And the Veterans Home, I understand, is just bar to none. It really is very, very good. But you got to have money in order to be in there. And so, but he and I talked for a really long period of time. And that's literally because of him. That's how I become a chaplain, because of our discussion and what he does and what he works. So anyway, Clark, any other comments you want to make at all, or anything that you want to say?
No, it was fascinating. You learn a lot listening. I was surprised at a $16 a month food stamp. That seems like...
It's almost a joke.
No, that's incredible. How could that even be? I hear, you know, that the 40-something million people are on food stamps in this country, and I thought that the minimum would have been 200 or something, but I know they always like to throw out families of 4, and they skew the statistics a little bit that way, but that's...
$16 a month for 20 months now.
That's incredibly... I mean, who do you talk to about stuff like that? I mean, who controls those things? Who came up with that figure, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I have no idea.
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. And like you, it was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I know that in the food stamp program, $8.7 billion was cut.
We discussed that
just
before.
recently, and so that brought it down per person $3.31. If you have a family of 4, that's $12 a day, or $13 a day, and so.
But $13 a day times 30 days, where do you get 16 a month? I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Not even 50 cents a day.
I don't have an answer to that. This is the first time that I've heard of that.
That's like
Well,
50 cents.
Yeah, you can't.
I hope you
can't.
believe me, it's true.
No, absolutely, but it's shocking.
Yeah. I
The
was
thing
shocked,
that, you know, as I said, if you go down to Fremont, Fremont, what's it called one more time? Fremont what? Experience, and you see the vets there, these guys are hustling.
Wow.
These guys are hustling for food, they're hustling for rent. I asked another vet to come in here today, and he said, we've got $100 more to get rent. And so, and they're doing everything they can in order to make the money. And so, and these are vets.
Yeah.
These are vets.
Well, we should do more shows like this, Steve.
I hope you don't mind, we're going to do more.
Another show going on at 1 o'clock, so.
That's okay, we're going to go ahead and end.
We got to go, and